Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I'm the Professor, and with me are my usual two co-hosts, the Master Buck and the DJ.
Hey guys.
Yo, 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 yo.
Wow, he's got a spring in his step.
I didn't know your degree was in speaking like a rap singer.
Oh, just with the introduction, you made it sound like I thought that was the way I was supposed to respond.
Right.
I could have come out and gone rock and roll.
Are you gonna save that for your graduation, Buck?
Well, you don't really actually say anything when you walk across the stage.
Oh,
unless the Chancellor asks you something.
Well, yeah, you usually stop, shake hands with him, and he gives you your parchment, and then you wander on.
Because when I graduated, I walked across the stage, and the Chancellor said something to me, and I answered him, and at the end of the ceremony, my parents came to me and said, "What did the Chancellor say to you?" And it was completely gone from my mind.
Yeah, like he, when I did my undergrad, I walked across, shook his hand, and he said, "Congratulations." I said, "Thank you very much." He said, "You must be proud of your hard work," and I said, "I am." It stuck to me because it was the first time I've ever spoken to the Chancellor, and yeah, he's a pretty cool bloke.
Yeah, I'd never even seen him until then.
I've seen the Vice Chancellor plenty of times, but never the Chancellor.
Okay, anyway, our first topic for tonight is from the Master of Mysteries, about the mystery of the sun's magnetic waves.
Yes, well, it's not about the magnetic waves. It's actually the magnetic waves are actually part of it. It's actually with the heat and the corona. So, yeah, for more than 60 years, they've been studying the magnetic waves that leave the interior of the sun and trying to work out why every now and again they grow in strength, but there's no explanation of why that they could discover. Nothing happening they could see. And particularly with the coronas, the sun's corona, high temperatures, and different people have been looking at it at different times, but there's a group that's gotten together that call themselves WALSA, which is Waves in Lower Solar Atmosphere, from the University of Exeter and other places such as the National Science Foundation's Dunn Solar Telescope in New Mexico, plus Queen's University in Belfast and a whole heap of places. But they've sat back and been studying it, and they've actually worked out that it's actually, I'll try and make sure I get the correct explanation here. It's an acoustic resonator which is formed and changes, and where there's significant changes in temperature between the surface of the sun and its outer corona, and they're partially reflective and act to trap the waves, which thereby increases the level of intensity.
That reminds me a lot of a laser.
Pretty much.
To have a mirror on both ends of a box and reflect the light backwards and forwards.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it's a laser is a mirror along a tube which focuses it into a tighter beam pattern.
I just need a bit of help with the terminology. What's the corona means?
You should know this, DJ. Come see me after class.
Haven't you been doing your study?
I've heard that term a long time ago, but it's been a while. I just need some refresher.
Well, it's a brand of beer.
Oh yeah. I know that type of corona. I meant the other
97%.
corona.
Most people like to have their corona cold, but the sun likes it hot. Which is actually what the Marilyn Monroe movie, Sun Liked It Hot. It was a science fiction movie about why the sun liked to have hot corona.
Yes.
I've actually got here, but my laptop's just decided it's going to be kind of nasty to me for a moment. The corona's it's like at the focal point. You got there's bits of energy and so forth that bounce out away from the sun's surface.
So the corona itself isn't it the layer just above the surface of the sun where the solar flares are? Yeah,
well, that's kind of where I was going with like the flares and the explosions that come up there. It's like a focal point area.
Okay.
Here we go. So yeah, the corona is the aura of plasma that surrounds the sun and other stars, and the sun's corona extends millions of kilometers out into outer space and can easily be seen during a total solar eclipse. So when there's a solar eclipse and the moon moves across and you've got big halo effect and there's all the bits and pieces moving out and waving around,
yeah,
that's the corona.
Oh, okay.
It's a very cool effect, but unfortunately, you're going to have to wait about 20 years to see it again.
Yeah. And also, as soon as I think I remember, like as soon as the corona ends, the first hint of sunlight could affect your eyes.
Well, that's not the corona. The corona is there all the time. It's the eclipse you're talking about there. The corona is the aura that's around the sun all the time, with the energy and light and radiation coming off of the sun. You got to remember the sun's actually a giant ball of energy that's constantly exploding and interacting with itself. So
yeah,
kind of like when you see a campfire from a distance, and you got the ambient light from a distance, you see from a fair distance. That's kind of like a corona.
Okay.
So, what does this mean in terms of star physics? Does it change any major theories?
I don't think it's actually really changing anything, but it's helping to explain a lot of the temperatures and some of the fluctuations with it. And there's probably going to be a lot of further research that's going to come out of it because they now understand it. So it's just one of those things in life that people have been trying to work out why it's happening. Because when you look at solar flares, they're actually explosions that erupt out into outer space beyond the corona, and solar flares actually knock out radio communication on Earth.
Yes,
at different times.
The most famous solar flare event is the Carrington event back in the 1850s, I think, and it set fire to the telegraph lines. And even when the telegraph lines were de-energized, people reported being shocked by touching them because there was that much energy, like electromagnetic energy, in the air that was being picked up by the cables, which were basically giant antennas.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're usually just copper cable back of them, but yeah,
which is a little bit scary considering how much more copper cable we have going around now. That if another Carrington event happens, we have a pretty big issue.
Well, we actually get hit by solar flares on a regular basis, and there's some, like with some of the various telescopes and telescope arrays, at different times they have to change the angle that they're at and so forth because of the fact that they can be hit directly by solar flares that they're actually acknowledge that they know that are coming and they're forecasted, and if they don't turn them away from it, it'll actually damage the antenna arrays in the dishes.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. The coolest part is that when there's a major solar event, the increased energy causes auroras further north and south. Like DJ's found a link to the page of the Carrington event. They reported auroras as far north as Queensland.
Yeah, like I know when there was one of the solar flares hit, I think it was in the 80s. They got the huge telescope or dish, which is basically a whole valley. And I think
Arecibo, I think.
I think that's the one. I always try to remember the name, but yeah.
From GoldenEye.
Yeah, they actually had a couple of people working in the center, and the solar flare actually arrived 2 hours ahead of schedule. It actually cooked them.
Shoot, that's not
because
pleasant.
Like, I don't know whether that's an urban myth or something, or it's just something I heard, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like when you look at a dish like that, it's designed to focus all that energy for a radio telescope into a small area. So if you're in that area and you get a solar flare hit, I can quite easily understand all that because it's a combination of microwave energy and different things like that. When that bounces off the dish and comes back up into the focal area, I would hate to be there because, like, even without those there, at different times you can cook steak because it focuses the sun's energy in the middle of the day up onto it.
Yeah, so, I can't find anything in a quick search about people dying at Arecibo, but there's a classic urban legend about someone sitting in front of a radar dish to keep warm and it not ending well for him.
Yeah, like it's just. As I said, I don't know whether it actually happened or if it's an urban legend, but yeah, like it's just one of those things. It wouldn't surprise me if it is, and someone's just covered it up. But yeah.
So you guys reckon this will also be useful in predicting when's the next solar flare, or?
Well, they're really good at predicting solar flares. This is going to be more with space travel. Like you're going to be able to understand exactly what's going on with the temperature and the magnetic resonance and all that sort of stuff, and how it's interfering. The more you understand it, the less of a problem it is and the easier it is to overcome.
Yeah.
And the most important part is it gives you time to prepare because there's not a whole lot you can do to dodge a solar flare. We're not moving the Earth out of the way anytime soon.
Yeah, like a couple of all your stations down in the Antarctica have to be aware of when the solar flares are coming because it wipes out radio communication. So there's nothing worse than being stuck in a place which is in permanent nighttime during winter and you lose complete contact with the outside world and you don't know what's going on.
Here's another question for you guys. You reckon with this sort of research, we could find a way to manipulate our own magnetic fields?
In what way?
So, like, I do recall animals depend on the magnetic field in terms of migratory, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, we use it as well with some of the GPS satellite and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah. So the magnetic field shifts every, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but every X thousand years it reverses.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been trending towards a reversal for quite a while now. So some people have this whole, the pole shift preppers. They think that the shift of the magnetic field is going to basically cause the end of the world. But I don't think there's anything that people could do to manipulate it because it's so damn big. Like it's a fairly weak field, but the scale of it is too big to, I think, have a major impact on it.
Mm-hmm. So that's another interesting point there. Like when you look at the North Pole, you got true north and magnetic north, and there's, I can't remember how many degrees of difference it is at the moment, but it
depends where you are. But I think in the southeast Queensland region, it's about 11 degrees at the moment.
Yeah, but when you're actually up at the actual North Pole, if you're at true north, it's in one position, and if you go for where magnetic north is, I think it's a couple hundred k's away from the same. Like you have to travel to go to where magnetic north is.
Yeah.
So
actually, there's a section in that magnetic field linkpedia there, DJ, which is for the magnetic pole movements, and you can see it did a bit of a dance around Victoria Island in Canada, and now it's heading north across the Arctic towards Russia.
Oh, okay.
But
just sorry to interrupt, guys. In terms of magnetic declination from Brisbane, it's plus 11 degrees.
Yeah, so it's just saying that the difference between true north and magnetic north is plus 11 degrees from true north is magnetic north.
But only in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Because the magnetic field isn't perfectly straight, so it's slightly different depending on where you are.
So when you're actually out doing your orienteering and you've got a map and a compass, these are important things to know depending on where you are at different times. Because when you travel overland for a couple of 100 kilometres, 1 degree may not sound like much, but when you get a couple of 100 kilometres along, it can be 20 k's away from where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's they teach us a lot of basic orienteering in Scouts, like working just from a map and compass, and there is so much to take into account, like with how you navigate around obstacles, how you deliberately navigate away from your destination.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to reach a certain point on a road that goes like perpendicular or close to it from your path, you pick a direction slightly left or right of the actual location. That way when you hit the road, you know which way to go to get to the place if you've been inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. But coming back to the situation here with this article, it's quite interesting. Like when you look at the variations in the elements that had to be allowed in relation to the speeds of the sun's plasma all being uncovered and the timescales, it was like the mathematics behind this is absolutely freaking incredible, and it opens the door to a new understanding of the mystery surrounding the sun and the coronal heating problem. So like we're looking at global warming, right? So the source of a majority of our heat is the sun. So while we're thousands and thousands of kilometers away, it's understanding things like this helps us understand what's happening, and they can prove what's going on with global warming for those people who still doubt the efficacy of the science involved.
Shaun.
So it's kind of like to put it in a scientifically blunt term, it's kind of stepping up and slapping you and sticking a thermometer somewhere where the sun doesn't shine. And not in a nice way either.
I did have a thought a moment ago that maybe some more research into the sun's magnetic field and corona can be transferred using fusion reactors.
Well, that's probably part of something that can be included, but it's there's so many different things that this can be applied to now, because like the mere idea that the surface of the sun was creating its own acoustic resonator, it's just weird. Like, it's something that a lot of people probably hadn't considered, but where the significant changes in temperature between the surface of the sun and the outer corona have been creating this reflective surface that's trapping the waves of heat, and thereby, as you said before, similar to a laser, in creating an intensifying aspect. So, yeah.
The other interesting thing I noticed in this article is about the concept, the thickness of the resonance cavity. So the difference between the significant temperature changes.
In what way?
So let's say, for example, Australia, for example, has the significant temperature change, while we look at countries in America where they have a temperature change which is huge in terms of they're going through a bad winter.
But you see, the thing there is, what is the temperature scale utilized? We measure our temperature in Celsius. Mm-hmm. I think America is still using Fahrenheit.
Yeah, America, Burma, and Liberia, I believe. Although that is an Archer quote, so take it with a grain of salt.
So yeah, like America talks about these massive temperature fluctuations, but yeah, a lot of that is actually due to the temperature scale being utilized. Because I'll talk about temperatures of it's 103.
Yeah, so the difference between 0 and 40 degrees in Celsius is the difference between about 30 and about 100 in Fahrenheit.
Whoa.
I remember seeing a movie on TV years ago. It was some movie where someone got turned into a snowman or something, and he has to cross the car park, and they have a radio host saying, and it's approaching 70 degrees. And I'm like, what sort of apocalypse is this?
Yeah, it's like you hear them talking in different movies where they're saying about the child's temperature is reaching 103 degrees.
Great, time to take them out of the oven.
Yeah, that's 103 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 39.4 recurring degrees Celsius. So yeah, it's a big concern when you consider the fact that we're not supposed to be that hot. But yeah, like, it's a lot of drama over something that's moderately manageable most of the time. Like, it's just out here we have those sorts of conditions when you're working in different places, and yeah, it's just you just drink a lot more water, you put cold packs on and have the fans going, and you just sweat uncomfortably, and there's no way to put it other than sweating. You walk around and you just got that much sweat dripping off you, you're leaving a river behind you. So yeah, I can't see how this is going to help control that sort of stuff. This research is going to control that sort of stuff here, but yeah, when you start talking about temperature variations between Australia and America, it's just the scale utilized.
Okay, but let's say, for example, they both, Australia and America, use Celsius. Let's say it happens. What would that be? Would that affect the would that be a benefit in its own end?
Will it help?
Yes, because America would finally be getting on board with the best measurement system. Come fight me, America.
It would help give a clearer picture so that everyone in the world understands what's going on. But so the other thing you got to look at there is there's a lot more variables that have got to be understood and attributable, such as atmospheric conditions. Like, you got different mountain ranges in America that we don't have here. All sorts of things like that come into play that are affecting the temperatures and the
we're
climate.
getting a bit off topic, but a lot of this cold weather in the northern hemisphere is because of the breakdown of currents that carry warm water from the tropics to the north. So there's one in particular that's quite well known. The Gulf Stream travels from the Gulf of Mexico across the Pacific and up to Europe. So Boston, I think, is on the same latitude as Barcelona, but is significantly colder. Like, you think of Spain as this warm beach body sort of place.
Well, it depends on the area of Spain you're in.
True, but the main reason Europe is so warm is because hot water from the south flows north and warms it up. But the melting ice caps and changing sea temperatures is disrupting that movement, which is leading to colder weather in the north.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, our next topic from the J.
Yes.
DJ.
Yep, I'm here.
Our next topic is from the DJ.
Oh, thank you. So,
just to clarify, are you saying that our next topic is from the DJ?
Not at all.
Okay.
We're skipping his. We're going right on.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
So, a comic book writer has claimed that the proliferation of piracy is a real problem and has encouraged others in the industry to share their concerns. So, Jim Zub, who one of the writers from Marvel and IDW, tweeted that 20 times as many people read comics illegally shared online than pay for digital or physical works. So, in his thread, Zub has said having work spread without being paid for initially created a vitality boost for creators, but now has become the norm for an audience of rapid consumption.
So hang on a second. Hang on.
Yep.
So we got a guy who works for Marvel
And
so
IDW.
He's now a Disney princess. Who's having a look that people are pirating his work and he's not making as much money. Whereas Shaun from Comics to Movies, who does XCT and a few others, is actually actively seeking to release his merchandise online.
Yeah.
I think this is another one of those thin margins that Disney likes to talk about.
And he goes on to also say, I don't want pirate readers to think it's no big deal or victimless, he tweeted. Content worth reading is content worth supporting.
Well, I can agree with that. Like, if you're going to read a comic, you should pay for it.
Yeah, but
yes, as with basically any creative work, if you want to consume it, you should pay for it.
Yeah. If you look at his thread, it's a very interesting thread to look at.
What I've seen here though is that digital sales have gone stale for their 6th year, while print comics have declined too. Which is interesting that digital is not taking off in comics like it is in so many other spaces.
Yeah,
Now, is that just their sales have gone stagnant?
I assume so. This is, I think, from Dave Gallagher, co-author of The Only Living Girl and co-founder of the studio Bottled Light.
Okay, because I'm curious. If you look at the statistics for like manga and anime online sales and all that, I reckon they'd be climbing because there's been a move which we've discussed before. There's been a big shift away from Marvel and DC for comics because it's getting very, like, the actual material is getting stagnant.
Yeah.
Do we really need another Spider-Man origin story?
I don't know. Maybe Spider-Man's actually going to become he's going to be Spider-Hulk.
But okay, here's the stupid part about this whole
copyright buck there. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't already a thing.
I don't know. I don't want to know, and I don't even want to think about it. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing though, guys. They're now addressing it after all these years when people have been doing this for years.
Well, of course they have. People have been pirating for hundreds of years. Basically, well, you know what? I bet the monks who copied the Bible in that monastery didn't pay anyone for the privilege of copying it.
That would be funny. Imagine if
How do you think Jesus feels about that?
Actually, I think no. They would have, because all the different monasteries and all that had to kick a tithe up the ladder to the bishops and cardinals and back to Rome. So
true. So if we assume that the Vatican owns the copyright Bible, then I suppose everyone's paying their dues. But then the Bible itself has been out of any copyright period for any country that still exists. For
no, because you got different variations of the Bible that have been printed out now. So
true, although the main ones are out of copyright.
No,
yeah, I can imagine all those people that are pirating stuff who are wearing a "What would Jesus do" armbands right about now.
Now I'm just imagining, like, if the printing press had never been invented and people were pirating Spider-Man by just copying it out.
Hey, I actually used to, like when I was younger, I used to actually sit there and draw Garfield by copying Garfield comics to teach me, like, learning how to draw. And yeah, I got to the point where I could actually do a fairly reasonable Garfield freehand at one point.
Nice.
Haven't done it for quite a long time now, probably longer than some of our listeners, but have been alive. But yeah, but back when I was growing up, you know how we used to pirate the songs that we used to like? We used to record them from the radio. You used to listen listen to the top 40 or whatever, you listen to the radio at different times, and you'd have a cassette set ready to go, and you would hear your song coming up, and you'd hit record so you could record that song.
And that's why DJs used to, well, they still do, but that's why they do the talking over the beginning and end of songs, so you can't get a clean copy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, every new technology that makes it easier to share information makes it easier to pirate that information.
Yeah.
You before the printing press, you had to copy it by hand. Then you could printing press multiple copies really easily, and that made it really easy to share knowledge. But if you had a printing press, you could feasibly pirate books, and it's only gotten easier since then. And now we can just share a digital copy. I can email someone a comic right now, no issues, and it's so easy to distribute it. I'm not surprised piracy is. Yeah, I could.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it because I'm not going to pirate it, but
and
in fact,
I just did a quick Google search. Spider Hulk does exist.
Yes, I threw a link into the show notes there. Only one appearance though.
Back to the story. So Joe Glass also contributed in with his take on it by saying that piracy is a stumbling block to getting further work published rather than giving him exposure. I tried to consider the benefits, but now I ultimately can't see it as anything other than stealing. If every person to pirate his work has brought an issue instead, it would mean enough payment to me and my whole creative team in full of the series, and a good step of the way into the next project.
Hang on. But when we look at companies like Marvel, you got the creative team creating the comics, right?
Yeah.
That's probably 5% of the entire organization now, and they've got so much other deadweight of corporate infrastructure with all the merchandising, the movies, and who knows what else. Like, what's the price? Like, I haven't even gone and looked at the price of Marvel comics in a long time, but how much are they when you buy them now? Like, last time I looked at anything, it was like $15 to $20.
From low comic shops, so like Comics Etc. Check the price for, let's say, Absolute Carnage number 3 or 5. At the moment, it's costing about $9.50.
$9.50. Is that just the thin comic like you used to get, or is it a big compendium?
This is the thin comic, like, yeah.
So $10. When I was a kid, and I'm not trying to sound harsh here.
Back in my day,
it was like they were like 30 cents. Like, it was like they used to be sold for like 10 cents and 15 cents and 30 cents.
How does that relate to the inflation though?
Not good enough. It's when you look at the inflation of things like phone call used to be 30 cents or 20 cents at one point, but then it was 30 cents. To make a phone call at a payphone these days, I think it's still only 50 cents.
Yeah, that's assuming you can find a payphone in the first place.
But you know what I mean? Like $10 is a huge chunk of cash, and they're moving away from the biggest market area. Like, they're chasing after adults, and they're forgetting the biggest market you want to go for is kids. So you got the next generation, and they're pricing themselves out of the market. Like, who's going to go give a kid $10 to buy a thin comic every week? You give a kid $10. Like, you think the pocket money you got to give to a kid these days with the cost of living and everything else going on? When I was like, I know I'm going like when I was, I'm sound like the old, when I was a boy. I get my pocket money, right? And I'd only get half of it each week. My mum would bank the other half of it. So if I got $1, I was happy. And that was my pocket money before I was 12. With that $1, I could go get myself a can of Coke, a bag of lollies, play some games on the arcade game, and buy a comic if I wanted to.
Can't do that anymore though. There's too many cameras.
Yeah.
No, you could. I meant pay for them.
I know. I'm taking the piss.
But you know what I mean? Like, to do that now, like, say $10 for a comic, a can of Coke is what, $3.50 or something like that now?
Yeah.
A bag of lollies is $3.50 as well. And to go play a game, if you can find somewhere that's actually got an arcade game, you're looking at $1 a game.
It's $1 a go at Netherworld.
Well, there you go. So, like, I used to get 3 games playing Moon Buggy. Like,
oh yeah, I think I saw that Netherworld last month, actually.
Like, so for $1, I could get a can of Coke, a bag of lollies, a comic, and play 3 games. So to do the equivalent today, you got to give a kid $20 a week just to cover that.
Oh, by the way, guys, for graphic novels, it's even more expensive. Like, for example, the Absolute Watchmen. This is to celebrate the 20th anniversary. $135.
Yeah, but that's a special edition. But even there, like, who's going to buy that? It's not going to be a kid, is it?
No, it won't. It won't be a kid. It would just be
No.
like collectors.
People buying Watchmen are going to be adult collectors.
Yeah.
I think we're better off comparing something like Superman if we're talking about kids.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, I think
wasn't
one of the key issues they've got is the delivery issue. I don't think the big comic studios have done enough push digital delivery because
and they're pricing themselves out of the market.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a digital edition, you don't need to be spending $10 for it. Like, they've got nothing for overheads other than the actual drawing. So they're not paying for paper and all that, so they can sell them at literally like the $2 a copy.
A few years ago, when I was reading the Firefly comics on Dark Horse, they were, I think, $6 per issue.
Okay, which is the price of a Happy Meal.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Could you say that the whole price increases is the reason why comic book is the reason to combat piracy?
But it's not to combat piracy because it encourages piracy. Because why do people pirate? Because they don't want to spend $10 on a comic.
Yeah.
Why am I
Or it's
going
a
to pay
delivery
$10
issue.
when I can just rip it off for free?
Well, at least with game development, it's a delivery issue because a lot of people say they saw pirating when they got Steam.
Yeah.
The other thing is music these days is so easy to pirate, and the streaming sites pay you a pittance that musicians basically make their money from touring.
Yeah,
so the physical release is advertising to come to their next concert.
That's something I've heard as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, with comic authors, they can go to Comic-Con or Supernova and sell merchandise and signatures and stuff. I don't know how game developers could really fit into a sort of live performance field, but not that many of us would want to. Being in public is not fun.
By the way, Buck, you were saying about Marvel. Here's an interesting thing for you. In 2016, the top 8 superhero movies earned over $1.9 billion in box office revenues, shooting up from the mere $688 million collected in 2015 when it comes to comics.
Thin margins. But anyway, we've got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say one thing. Do you reckon webcomics are also to be blamed?
No, I think webcomics are a great distribution method, a great way to do it. I think the issue is people still pirate it, though. There's a tweet in this article from Andy Kloof who says that he would run a webcomic, but people would rehost it on Reddit and Imgur, and people would read it there, so he doesn't get his ad revenue. Because it's a free-to-read comic, the only money he makes is ad revenue.
Yeah.
So if you're going to, if you have a comic or a musician or someone who you like, and you make sure you get that content from their website and turn your ad blocker off.
You got to support the people that you enjoy. Like, if you don't support it, it's going to disappear.
Yeah, and I think that's also why so many people turn to Patreon now.
Yeah.
It's like,
anyway.
I was just going to say, it's kind of like I showed the post on our Facebook page there from Jamie Johnson. He's working on a new cover for a Phantom comic. He's an Australian artist, and he makes his money from this, and he also runs a school where he teaches people how to draw. So go check out his artwork and support some of these great artists out that are doing such incredible artwork. Like, I can understand wanting to buy a physical copy of a comic because it's something you've got there permanently and you can hold. But yeah, you got to think about the pricing. It's got to be a bit more realistic. $10 a copy.
Yeah, and also people would Patreon. Well, what you said about Patreon is interesting as well. Some people would outright say this, like, "Oh, I will still support your work, but I'd just rather pirate it as well."
Pirate.
Pirate it.
The old voice chip's going again.
I would like to pirate your work. Is that like the gyrate?
And but back to what I was going to say. It's such a shame though, just to see comic creators now resorting to just full-time jobs just to get the money pay for their comic.
That's how it used to be. There were very few comic book artists that were just full-time artists.
Yeah.
Like, when you go back to when Stan Lee started off, he wasn't just drawing cartoons. He was doing other stuff as well. It's very few of them actually managed to make it big enough that is all they do for a living.
Same with many artists, musicians, game developers. It's hard to make a living as a creative these days.
Yeah.
But anyway, we really got to keep moving it along.
Sure.
Stop distracting me. My topic for this week is the latest Valve news. There's 3 items. The Steam controller has gone on a last hurrah sale because it's been discontinued and Valve are now out of stock, unfortunately. So if you missed the $5 deal for purchasing in the US, that's a shame. If you live anywhere else, you're still screwed because they only had the deal in the US. And Valve also announced Half-Life Alyx, the VR entry in the Half-Life series, a prequel to, well, set between Half-Life 1 and 2. You play as Alyx in a full VR game, which led to the Valve Index being completely sold out within days after the announcement of Half-Life Alyx.
So Valve is basically resurrected from the dead.
Hey, I've heard more about Valve in the past than I have in years.
Well,
Everyone's so excited for Alyx.
Maybe because of... Oh, sorry, Michael.
How's Valve being resurrected from the dead? They're not dead.
Well, a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about how Steam was going through a whole lot of trouble. And
no, we said there's fluctuations and adaptations, and they're that big they've probably realised it, but it'd be a minor inconvenience with having some of the other game studios launching their own stuff. I think you were talking about Epic having their own online game store to compete against Steam.
Yeah.
And like Valve have set up Steam, and it's the benchmark on how things are operating. It's going to be a while before they're going to struggle. They're still doing huge business. You're the only person I've ever heard say that Valve is dead.
Well, I didn't say Valve is dead, but I'm just saying...
You just said they're being resurrected from the dead?
Yeah, after so many months in the spotlight for not being away from the spotlight.
Well, it's kind of like you're the biggest game in town. You don't have to make a song and dance about it. You're there.
Valve is like the Microsoft. They're so ubiquitous that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And they've managed to ingrain themselves into society enough that they don't really face any risk, which is why they've let themselves go for so long, not releasing anything huge. Mm-hmm. If they were in money trouble, I guarantee we would have seen Half-Life 3 years ago. But they don't have money trouble because they've got Steam. They make so much money off Steam, they can afford to work until they get it right. And I'm hoping Alyx is going to be right.
Yeah. It's one of those games that should have came out years earlier. But
no, the tech hasn't been there until recently. Keep in mind, VR is a new thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, the Oculus Rift only was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even get a prototype for a couple of years after that. It was another couple of years before they released the first consumer edition.
Yeah, like the marketable VR gear that we've got now. Like what's the Valve VR gear costing?
Index is about $1,000 US.
Okay, compared to I think a decade ago, it was sitting on $15,000 was the cheapest you could get hold of, and that was not including all the computer hardware. That was just the actual headset and so forth. The actual computer you needed for it was another massive expense.
Yeah.
It had to have I think it was 3 or 4 tower systems to operate. You go back 20 years, you're looking at, it was the thing of airlines and the military were the only people that were seriously considering because it was so expensive.
So a proper airline grade flight simulator for training real pilots is a cockpit sitting on hydraulic rams so that they can tilt it up and down with a really clever wraparound screen that gives you a 3D effect. And they use an entire server room to run one simulator.
Mm-hmm.
So this is nowhere on that scale, but obviously. So but the fact is you can now run a VR experience that would have been inconceivable even just a couple of years ago for only a couple of $1,000, which is a lot. And only about 1% of Steam users have a VR headset at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a huge leap forward for VR technology. And I think Alyx is the killer app.
I'm looking at the video for it here at the moment on YouTube, and it's looking amazing. Like, it kind of makes me want to actually get hold of a VR headset just so I could actually go play this.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for the Index to release in Australia. I plan to save up and buy one eventually. But this has got me really hyped. No, just let's hope it's not a No Man's Sky. Or a Star Citizen bug.
Well, actually, did you see, was it that during the week I saw somewhere they've raised, is it 250 million or $350 million?
I think it was 200 $250.
$250 million, and they still haven't got a game on the market.
Yeah, they're still in the very early stage. There is a product
Very
there,
early
but
stage.
it's nowhere near complete.
Bucky's getting all mad
For
about
$250 million.
Grandpa,
American.
take your medicine and go to bed.
at a very early stage. That sounds so bad.
$250 million that they've stolen from people, and they still haven't got a working product that's marketable. I'm sorry, but that's the Stark one. That's the absolute biggest ripoff I've ever heard of.
Buck, if you want the Australian version of it, you're not gonna like it.
I'm not interested.
369 million Aussie.
Yeah. You realise that when Holden developed the VY Commodore, they spent $1 billion on it, and it was like one of the biggest things. Like, everyone in the automotive world was shocked that someone had spent $1 billion developing a car, and they made a thing about the $1 billion baby. You can normally develop a car that is on the market and in production for $250 million.
And even really big games like GTA 5 cost a couple of $100 million. And this one's still basically just a demo. So we'll see if it ever actually shows, but Half-Life Alyx is looking much more solid.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer, and my god, the G-Man looks even more scarier than the previous versions.
What's really brutal is having Eli say, "Honey, don't look."
Oh man,
but
he's not lucky.
I think I'm just going to shut up at the moment because that's just ridiculous.
I hope though this game.
You hope?
I hope Alyx brings about Half-Life 3, because I think the world has been waiting for this game for so long.
You'll like this.
Yeah?
Valve have said that it's re-energized them. That they feel they're ready to go. And the coolest part is that they bring in what's his name, Mark Laidlaw, as a consultant. So they've still got the original writers on as consultants, even if they've left company. So it should hold up.
Oh, please let it not be fake news though, because
it's not fake news. They're definitely making Half-Life Alyx. What would be fake news is if they say it's gonna be the biggest game ever. You're gonna have 1 million planets. It's gonna have multiplayer, and then will prove you wrong within 2 hours of launch.
Like Google Stadia?
No, like No Man's Sky.
Well, I was thinking a more apt version of a failure would be
I think Buck's got someone angry at him about it. Star Citizen rant. Anyway,
he's getting an obscene phone call from Steve from Star Citizen.
The best part about Alyx is that it's going to be playable. Right, they're designing it for the Valve Index, which has really cool controllers.
Yeah,
but they also have it's going to be playable on basically any headset.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
So you could get a Windows mixed reality headset. So an Asus or a Samsung for a couple of $100. Hook it up to Alyx and get most of the experience, which I think is Craig, why do you do this?
He's Gen Z. He couldn't handle the stress.
Craig's even younger than Gen Z.
There you go.
Craig's only been around for a couple of years. And for the very confused listener, that is Craig, the recording software we use, which decided once again it wanted to crash.
He crapped his nappy.
What I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted, Craig, is that the headset the game is compatible with any headset, which I think is a great move for VR adoption. I think the VR market is too small to lock yourself into a particular headset. You won't get any sales that way. And the Valve's just gone and said this will work on basically any headset. So
what I was going to say before, I got really interrupted by somebody.
We were hypothesizing that it was the Star Citizen people.
No.
Yeah.
I wish they'd show up here, get some money's worth out of them. But no, actually, what I was going to say is if it's a complete failure, it'd be more like Fallout 76. where before it was actually released, they had all the pre-release stuff with all the different streamers and so forth. And I forget his name. He's one of the only ones I actually enjoy watching most of the time. You actually put me on to him, Professor.
Many a true nerd.
Many a true nerd. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. Yeah, he said it was basically he was disappointed with how empty it felt, and that was the pre-release.
Yeah, the launch of 76 was not great. Neither has most of the other things to do with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, onto the shout-outs. Onto the games of the week. What have you been playing, DJ?
I've been playing Undefeated. Very, very interesting game. It's basically Superman. It's a Superman simulator.
Cool.
So, I'm trying to think of a game this reminds me of it's a first-person game where you play as a superhero with the laser vision and the flight and all that.
Third person, actually.
Yeah, this one's third person, but the one I'm thinking of is first person.
Okay. But this version doesn't have the whole laser vision and intervision. You get only super speed and flight.
You get the sonic clap and strength.
Oh, yeah.
You just put out a fire by clapping his hands, and he flipped a huge concrete slab off of someone.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of weird, after he flipped a concrete slab off him, it said save. I don't think you'd be saved just because someone lifted a huge concrete slab off of you.
Well, maybe he was squishing a bad guy. Okay, so the game I'm thinking is Megaton Rainfall.
Oh, okay.
This is actually looking pretty cool.
Yeah, I will say this: the flight mechanics in this game are brilliant. They are brilliant. It's beautiful to look at. I mean, it's so good to look at your hero fly in the sky across the city. The other also beautiful part about this is the fight mechanics as well. I mean, granted, it's only it's similar to Batman Arkham Asylum style fighting system, but yeah, it's nice to play this game. And the interesting part about this was a college project.
That's pretty cool. I wonder if it's big enough to be noticed by any of the larger developers, because Valve are quite well known for picking up uni students from DigiPen University. That's where they got the team for Portal.
Yeah.
And there's another one I don't remember, but every couple of years it seems for a while they were picking up a new team of graduates.
Yeah.
But,
the game academy behind for this game is called the Vantan Game Academy, and they're based in Tokyo. So that's pretty cool.
You know who might pick them up? One of the anime studios or Microsoft, because Microsoft is valuing a lot of this sort of talent now as well.
Yes, Microsoft's finally getting back into games.
Finally.
AOE4.
Well, it's not just the games, it's just like the whole genius level of development and software engineering involved for something like this. Microsoft has always valued that sort of talent, and yeah, I can see them chasing after someone producing something like this.
Yeah, there are some downsides to this game though. Like for example, the environment's not destructible per se. Like, you know how in some superhero games and maybe GTA for example, the environment will react very quickly. Like if you crash into a building or something like that. In this one, there is a crash, but you don't see the impact and stuff.
Megaton Rainfall has destructible buildings. You can use your laser vision to cut chunks out of buildings.
Yeah.
So anyway, what have you played, Buck?
I have been playing a game called Raid Shadow Legends by a company called Plarium. And it's a game you can actually do cross-play. You can actually play it on your mobile or your PC.
That explains that then, because I'm sure I'd seen it on PC, but then you said you're playing a mobile game.
Well, actually, no, I didn't say I was playing a mobile game. I just said I was playing Raid Shadow Legends.
Okay, well, the link you've given us is to the mobile
That was the
version. DJ. Boo.
What is a mobile?
It's a mobile game, and you can play it on your PC as well. You can actually, it's cross-play. You can have it going on both platforms.
Okay.
So yeah, you can have it up there, so you got a bigger screen and operate it all. It's a lot of fun.
So what's it about?
It's developing yourself an army of heroes to go out and fight the bad guys. I haven't really bothered with the story. That's just you got PvE and PvP combat. It's RPG sort of stuff to a certain extent, where you develop your characters and heroes to fight, and you got different classes. So you got orcs and elves and all sorts of stuff. And it's just turn-based fighting. So you go out and you battle in different areas, and some points you've only got one hero hero or 2 heroes and up to 5 heroes at a time, battling against opponents and using weapons and magic and whatnot. Yeah, fantastic graphics. You got options there where there's every day you get 15 automatic play rounds or something, so you can level up your characters a bit quicker. So you can set them on a particular section of the campaign, and they'll battle through, and you can have automatic play and everything like that. And it improves the stats on your character, so you can go face the bigger characters, which is something you got to do. So yeah.
What's the biggest flaw you've encountered in that game?
Haven't really encountered any. Like for what it is, it's actually doing pretty well. It's running smooth. It's pretty clean and so forth. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'd like to be able to choose characters a bit more, but you just get random selections. Like you get summoning stones to summon new heroes that you can sacrifice into developing your other characters' levels and increasing them and boosting them up levels and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
How big's the tech tree for this type of game?
It's actually reasonably decent. Like there's because you got different areas that you can improve. So you can actually improve the character, you can improve the armor and weapons that they're using, and you can upgrade that. And then you've got the skills, which is different spells or whatever, and then you've got other areas, and yeah, it's fairly extensive, and you can customize your character in lots of different ways on the skill level and the upgrade rather than appearance. But yeah, considering the fact that it's free for play, it's pretty good.
I might check it out.
Yeah, likewise.
And I've been playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive, specifically the arms race mode, which is the official implementation of the classic gun game mode from the custom servers back in the day. You kill an enemy to level up, and each time you level up, you get a different gun. First player to get through all the guns wins. I've actually been... I still prefer it with my mouse and keyboard, but I did give it a go with the Steam controller. I decided to pick one up now that they're officially discontinued, because I've wanted one for a while, but never got around to it. And I've got to say, it feels really nice. I hope there's a controller too, like a number 2, because it feels better than... I think it's better than the Xbox controller, which is what I used to use when I was gaming. The hardest part to get used to that the sticks are replaced with concave touchpads. I still need to put more time in on it to get really used to the controller and get a final opinion though.
So how many nerdy beanies will you give Counter-Strike Global Offensive?
Well, the arms race mode specifically, I'd give a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Because I think it's flawed. I'm not sure what it is exactly about it that's flawed, but something feels off for me. Yep. It might be the specific order that the weapon progression goes in. I'm not sure. I think it is that actually.
How many nerdy beanies will you give Undefeated?
I'll give it 3. I give it 3 out of 5. I mean, there are some flaws in the game, and there is the grind element into this game, but overall, it's a good game, like with the flight mechanics and everything, and the challenges. So I'll give it 3 out of 5. Good job, those guys that made it. So yeah,
I'll give Raid Shadow Legends 3.5. The grind can be a bit painful, but yeah, overall, it's a decent game.
Okay, so on to the shout-outs. On the 3rd of December 1854, the Battle of the Eureka Stockade took place. More than 20 gold miners in Ballarat, Victoria, were killed by state troopers in an uprising over mining license. I sometimes wonder, well, specifically since it came up this week, I was wondering how history might be different if the strikers had won. I feel like it might have spiraled into a full independence movement in Australia. What are you giggling at, DJ?
Can you imagine yourself in saying like, I am the man that inspired the whole movement? Well,
there was one guy, Peter Taylor, I think, who inspired who led the whole Eureka Stockade. So there was a leader of the movement, but they had a lot of detail. They built a fortress. They came up with their own flag. They fought the police. Peter
Actually, no. They didn't fight the police. They fought the redcoats.
Okay, they fought the redcoats.
Yes. That was part of the issue. So they didn't have police. They only had the military.
True. And the mining licenses detail was that the price of the mining license kept going up. The government was basically taxing them there. The British government at the time, because Australia wasn't federated yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, so they got upset about the price, and it snowballed from there.
Yeah. Can you believe it? It's been 165 years.
There's
Oh.
been lots of things that have been longer on this section for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't around, so yeah.
Well,
Neither was I.
here's the thing with Peter Layla. Here's an interesting part. He was the rebel leader who rose to fame as leading the Eureka Stockade, an event controversially identified with the birth of democracy in Australia.
What?
Okay, then.
He's famous for being the only outlaw to make it to Parliament.
Yeah, part of the problem, like one of the, I can't remember, Peter Layla, he was an Irishman, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was all, I think a lot of this was linked back to the fight for independence in Ireland, and they were trying to steal, like he was trying to create a similar situation here in Australia to what had happened in America as well. And yeah, it was just, there was a lot of issues that were going wrong, and yeah, but there was a lot of underhanded stuff going on the other way as well. Because I remember reading somewhere that there was someone said that Peter Layla was one of those people. He hung around the goldfields but never actually did any mining.
So a pretty standard politician, right?
Basically, yeah. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Like, as I said, wasn't there. Haven't really studied it enough in depth. But yeah, it was something I remember reading years ago.
I used to remember watching the Eureka Stockade movie, and that was good times. Good times.
Really? You enjoyed it?
Yeah. Well, I was a kid, and guns, and it was like watching a spaghetti western at times.
How dare you?
I'm going to move it along before the DJ digs himself any deeper. You're going to strike gold there soon, DJ. On the 3rd of December 1994, the original PlayStation was launched.
Woohoo!
I've actually got one sitting beside me at the moment. I don't have it plugged in at the moment. I don't have a suitable TV, but I dug it out. He's going to clean it up and hopefully get it working. And on the 3rd of December 2014, the Japanese space agency JAXA launched the Explorer Hayabusa 2 from the Tanegashima Space Center. And the spacecraft touched down on Ryugu, the asteroid, in early 2019 and should come back in late 2020. Landing a rocket on a space probe on an asteroid and bringing it back is pretty insane.
Yeah.
On the 3rd of December 20, an immature Indian amateur helped NASA find the failed moon mission Shanmuga Subramanian A. Oh, no, sorry, that's his name. Shanmuga Subramanian. He's a software engineer, and he looked at satellite images to help NASA locate debris of India's ill-fated mission to the moon, which I believe we covered a few months ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was it called again?
Well, it doesn't have the name of it in the show notes.
DJ, did you stuff up again?
The wording of this: Indian amateur helps NASA reveal fate of failed moon mission Shanmuga Subramanian. Punctuation, man. What you should have is failed moon mission, full stop. Then you wouldn't be messing with my head. And remembrances. On the 3rd of December 1888, Carl Zeiss, the German scientific instrument maker, optician, and businessman, founded the workshop named after him in 1846, and it's still in business today as Carl Zeiss AG. He gathered a group of opticians and glassmakers and had a huge part in developing camera lenses and telescopes. He died from a stroke at the age of 72 on the 3rd of December. Sorry?
The failed moon mission was the Vikram moon lander, which was actually a joint India and Israel.
Okay. On the 3rd of December 1894, Robert Louis Stevenson, famous for Treasure Island, Kidnap, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and a children's garden of verses. I'm not reading well right now. DJ, what have you done to my brain?
And we've got even better names coming up for you too.
Oh no.
Oh, by the way, Buck, it's actually the Chandrayaan 2. That's the mission.
That's the mission, but it was the Vikram moon lander.
Ah, okay. My mistake.
So he's ranked as the 26th most translated author in the world. He died of a hemorrhagic stroke at 44 in Vailima, Appia. And on the here's the fun one. Got to stretch my mouth to warm up for this. On the 3rd of December 1984, Vladimir Abramovich Rokhlin, the Azerbaijani and Soviet mathematician, he made numerous contributions to a huge number of theories there, including... Sorry?
Such as?
Oh, I don't want to read them all out. Algebraic topology, geometry, measure theory, probability theory, ergot theory, and entropy theory.
That wasn't hard, was it?
Well, I don't want to just read from the article. I'm not the DJ. He died from a heart attack at 62 Moscow and Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, because that city's changed names more times than I've changed socks. And on to the famous birthdays. 3rd of December, 1857, Joseph Conrad, Polish-British writer regarded as one of the greatest novelists to write in the English language.
This is another one. You got to get his proper name.
Yes, I'll get there. He didn't speak English until his 20s, but he was a master prose stylist who brought a non-English sensibility into English literature. His most famous work is Heart of Darkness, which was made into the movie Apocalypse Now. DJ, you haven't given me his full name there.
Oh, I want to spare you the agony.
I've got to do it.
Okay.
Joseph Theodore Conrad Kozanowski.
Oh.
He was born in Berdych. And on the 3rd of December 1960, we have Julianne Moore, the American actress and children's author. She's known for her portrayals of emotionally troubled women in both independent and Hollywood films.
Mm-hmm.
She had Oscar nominations for Boogie Nights and was in Big Lebowski, Hannibal, Children of Men, Crazy Stupid Love, and won an Emmy for Sarah Palin in the film Game Change. I think it's...
Palin?
Yeah, however you say it. I don't speak American.
Even Sarah Palin doesn't pronounce it like an American. She pronounces it kind of strange too.
I don't think it's funny that she went from playing Clara Starling in Hannibal, a detective hunting a cannibal, to being in Kingsman: The Golden Circle, where she's making people eat each other.
Yes.
Also on the 3rd of December 1960, we have Daryl Hannah, the American actress, environmental. She's known for her role as Pris Stratton in Blade Runner, which was one of her first few roles, and she went right out of the gate. She was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She played Ellie Driver in the Kill Bill films. She was born in Chicago, Illinois. And the events of interest. On the 3rd of December 1736, astronomer Anders Celsius takes measurements to confirm Newton's theory that the Earth was an ellipsoid rather than the previously accepted sphere. And I'm sure we can all guess what else he was famous for. He proposed the Celsius scale.
Among other things, there's a few things that he did. So yeah.
With the Earth being ellipsoid, here's an interesting fact for you. It was part of an expedition organized by the French Academy of Sciences, led by French mathematician Pierre-Louis Maupertuis, to measure the degree of latitude. The aim of the expedition was to measure the length of a degree along a meridian close to the pole and compare the result with a similar expedition to Peru.
Who can't say names now, DJ?
I know. The expedition confirmed Isaac Newton's belief. So take that, flat earthers. Take that.
But how does that fit with the theory of the Earth being a donut?
And moving on.
Can we make that into a gift?
I swear to God, Buck, you won't live to make your graduation. On the 3rd of December 1967, the 53-year-old Louis Washkansky received the first human heart transplant at Groote Hospital in Cape Town, South Africa.
Groote.
Okay, he received... I am Groot sure. He received a transplant.
That's actually a person.
Yeah, I assume it is. He received a transplant from Denise Darvel, a 25-year-old woman fatally injured in a car accident. Unfortunately, he died 18 days later, but not due to heart issues. His heart functioned normally until his death. And on the 3rd of December 1992, Neil Papworth, a test engineer for SEMA Group, used a personal computer to send the world's first text message, Merry Christmas, via the Vodafone network to the phone of Richard Jarvis, who was at a party in Berkshire, which had been organized to celebrate the event. I love how many big events and parties were based around the first time someone sent a message using a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just remembered someone who we missed from our remembrances. Grady Smith, the lead singer from Mental as Anything, passed away on the 2nd.
Yes.
Would it be inappropriate if I said he's no longer it up?
Actually, I reckon he was enough of a party animal. He'd actually enjoy it.
There is another person. That we should have added onto the remembrances. That's pretty famous in the Star Trek community.
Oh, who is it?
DC Fontana. She is.
I saw that, and I thought DC Comics. Somebody called Fontana who works for DC Comics.
No, it's Dorothy Catherine Fontana. Yeah, she died on the 2nd of December. She's an American television scriptwriter and story editor, best known for her work on the original Star Trek franchise. And she also worked on Genesis 2, and then story editor and associate producer at Star Trek: The Animated Series, and a couple of movies like Logan's Run, Buck Rogers in a couple of TV series, mind you, The $6 Million Man, and Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's everyone for tonight. DJ, where can they find us?
They can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's canon.com, where we have an archive of our old episodes and merchandise. They can also email us at nerds.amalgamate@gmail.com. All of the links will be posted on the show notes.
All right. So, Buck, are you going to give us your classic outro?
Yeah, actually, I'd just like to also take a moment to say, please spare a thought for the firefighters who are once again out battling fires around the country. Yeah, just take a moment to just think about what they're putting their lives in danger for us. Yeah, but otherwise, remember to look out for yourselves, take care of each other, and stay hydrated, especially in this ridiculous heat.
See you guys.
And we will see you next week.
Hooroo.